As you're starting a business coaching practice, what are the challenges? What are the risks? Where is it hard? That's what we're discussing today on this video training. All right, we're going to talk about 5 different areas that can be a challenge in growing and starting a successful business coaching practice. Perhaps you're watching this. Maybe you have seen some of our videos, some of our podcasts. You maybe received some of our emails. And maybe you're coaching right now for free. Maybe you've considered coaching. Maybe you love investing into the lives of others and you want to help them grow their business. If that's you, you can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. There's some information that you can get there where we'll share with you exactly how we train and develop coaches to do that very thing with a full-blown, done-for-you system designed specifically for Christian men. Okay? And you'll learn some there. If you want to chat about it and you can learn more about it, you can do that too. And we'll go from there. All right, there are 5 areas. There's not only 5, but 5, these are the main ones as far as I'm concerned, that absolutely can, if you have to solve them, okay? You have to solve these challenges to be successful as a coach, as a strategist, as a consultant. No matter exactly, how you're going to do what you're going to do, you're likely going to come against these areas. So you must have a plan. You must be reasonable and not that you want to expect challenges, but you definitely want to be prepared, okay? And challenges come in different shapes and different sizes, and they look very different for a lot of people. Sometimes that's based upon your skill sets. Sometimes that's based upon your gift mix. If you have experience in sales, maybe you have done coaching inside of an organization or a company where you already have some experiences. Well, some of those challenges are likely going to be mitigated and or reduced simply because you've been there before. If you've never coached, then some of these challenges are simply going to feel a little different. That's why you want to be prepared. So these 5, they're not in any order per se, but they're things that you are going to have to deal with and you are going to have to handle. Now, I'll tell you, in building a successful business coaching practice, there are 3 things. We talk about these all the time on our podcast, talk about these all the time on our training. There's 3 things that you will have to solve, whether you work with me, somebody else, on your own, doesn't matter. Number 1, where do I spend my time building relationships and adding value, leads and prospects? Like, how do I build that network? Number 2, how do I convert the prospects that I am talking to into ongoing, high-paying, monthly clients? And the 3rd, how do I coach them to get results with simplicity? Those are 3 areas that you are going to have to solve along the journey at some point, okay? So you can write those down and start to build a plan, start to build some ideas, start to build some thought. Okay, these are the 3 areas, because pretty much every single thing that you're going to do as a coach and a strategist, you're going to have to solve. They're going to fall underneath those 3 areas. All right, here is the 5 areas and challenges that you want to be prepared for. Number 1, client retention and engagement. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the challenge, why the challenge exists, even perhaps give you a story or 2 in those. But I'm also going to share with you in our done-for-you system how we solve them, okay? Because that's the goal, that you must provide a solution to these areas to be prepared on how to maneuver through them. The first, client retention and engagement. Well, why is this an issue? Well, if they're not getting results at some level, and that would go along with any program, right? If they're not getting results at some level, then they are not likely going to stick around for a long time. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set expectations. Very important that you set expectations so they understand what they're going to do. It happens oftentimes when you don't set the expectation, the client can easily build their own idea of what the expectation is, and oftentimes it's much greater or very different than the actual reality. So you want to make sure that you are setting expectations. Engagement. Engagement simply means that I'm going to build a plan with each and every one of my clients, and I'm going to set the expectation whether I'm meeting with them twice a month, whether I'm meeting with them 3 times a month, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's in person. Like, I want to build a cadence. So here's the things to think about. 1, when it comes to, let's say that you are going to coach most of your time on Zoom. Now, it's an efficient process, and even in your local market, many of the last many years of coaching, I've done most of that exclusively on Zoom. But you want to build in, whether it's quarterly or a few times a year, or whatever, a lunch, a get together, a coffee, or whatever, so you still have in-person time. God created us to commune together. He created us to build relationship together. There's just nothing better than shaking somebody's hand and that flesh upon flesh and being in their presence. Okay, and so now, if you are coaching someone far away, which I've done many times, many of those I never did get that chance, so then you don't have that chance, so it is what it is. But you want to try to build as many engagements as possible. Here's another example of engagement. And this is all about building relationship. You're deepening the relationship because as you walk them through a path upon building strategy of solving problems, there's going to be some tension. There should be. You're going to teach them things that they don't know. You're going to help them to recognize things that they've never seen before. And it may push on their nerve a little bit of just like, discomfort, right? Well, when the relationship's deeper, they're way more willing to listen to you and lean in because of the relationship you're building. That requires engagement, okay? And so little things, and this may sound silly to you, but they really do matter and they really do work. Regardless of what industry that your client is in, you want to start paying attention to the world as it pertains to that industry. And so you start sending them to an article or an idea or a thought that's out of cycle of your actual sessions. Because what it does is it shows that you care. It shows that you're thinking about them. You may send them an article about something that's important that they didn't realize, they didn't know. It's like, hey, thanks. And these are just little, you've probably heard the term, deposits into emotional bank accounts. That's exactly what you're doing. If all you do is you stick to just your coaching sessions by themselves, then you miss the opportunity for continual relationship, okay? So really important there. So inside of our Done For You system, we give coaches a complete and total path and plan of content to go step by step, strategy by strategy. Like there's never a guess on where we are. There's never a guess on where we're headed. There's never a guess on what we're doing. And that's a part of the retention plan. As you're walking people through the aha moments, as you're walking people through step by step by step, we now have implemented that strategy. We're going to move on. They feel accomplished. They see results starting to happen and so on. So it's really important that you build a client retention and engagement plan. Number 2, demonstrating tangible ROI. In other words, this is the challenge. A lot of coaches cannot demonstrate a tangible ROI. I'll never forget, many years ago, I was helping a company on the marketing side for a specific campaign, and there was various things that we were doing. And in this specific campaign, the goal and design was to get the phone to ring. Okay, so here's where, when you can't control and help see an ROI, we can get in trouble when you don't have the whole thing built out. So my job was to help set, the different marketing mechanisms and several different, like 4 different areas on getting that phone to ring, different phone numbers and whatnot. Now, the mistake that I made is that I did not put enough pressure and getting involved into who's answering the phone. My job is just to get the phone to ring. Well, guess what happened? Phone was ringing, but the people who were answering the phone, A, weren't prepared. They were rarely available. So customers and or prospects got the voicemail all the time. And because of that issue, I could not demonstrate an actual ROI. And then the company's like, well, we're not getting any results. Well, no one's answering the phone. And it got into this very awkward back and forth type of deal. And really, I should have not engaged without speaking into the plan of the phone, the script. Someone better be there, 24 hours a day. There needs to be a plan, people calling them back, all that kind of stuff. And so that's a challenge. So when you can't demonstrate that, you must have a mechanism, a tool, a resource to do 2 things. 1, project the potential ROI. Like that's critical, because oftentimes business owners won't move forward if they cannot see, well, what's actually potential? If we do this campaign, if we do this strategy, if we do this, whatever it's going to be, what's my potential upside in doing it? All right. Secondly, along the journey, we need to be able to show an ROI of some sort that it is actually working. So in our system, what we do is when we're sitting down with a business owner, we go through this really cool process. It's a business assessment. It shows them what's possible through multiple different strategies. At the end of that, it shows them the potential ROI for the first year visually, even when they invest into the growth of their business. In other words, they invest into business coaching. So that's a tool that we use so that they can visualize bars and graphs, and it helps them to recognize if we just worked on a few strategies for just 1 year, this is potentially what it could look like. Must have a plan. Number 3, managing diverse client needs. This is just one of those things where it's really more simple than it sounds to solve it. Managing them, oftentimes the challenge really gets into, we want to help the business in every which way possible, because a part of our goal, especially as faith-based, strategists, is we want to help everywhere we can. Well, the reality is I can't help in everything. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with someone recently, and they asked, it was a very niche kind of deal that was interesting, but not in my wheelhouse at all. Now, there's 2 roads I could have played there. I could have said, oh yeah, man, I can help you, which is what exactly, because so many coaches want the deal, right? They want the business. They want another client that we tend to lean on saying yes to a lot of things, even though we're outside of our scope. And while there might be a version of faking it till you make it, which I don't know that I totally agree with, there's some things there that you can sometimes learn on the fly. Sure, you can do that, right? But when you overextend your ability, it prevents your ability to actually manage diverse client needs instead of just being frank. So you know what? That is not something that I have a lot of experience with. And in this case, it was a very interesting, not your average normal, question about what they're dealing with their business opportunities. And so we talked about that. And I said, here's what I can do. And so I began to manage their expectations on what I can do based upon their needs. And I laid out 3 different options. One of them was, them paying me to help them. But I explained to them what that would look like because I don't have a lot of experience with this very high specialty specific function. So part of it is expectations. We talked about that earlier. You got to manage them. Sometimes you got to be frank. This is not my ball game, but let me help you find somebody who can. I love doing that. So at worst case, when you're managing, there's a very diverse set of needs and you're not the person. Let's see if you can be the solution, because part of our heart, part of our job, part of adding value as a person of influence should be that we are a guide and a connector, right? So it's like, hey man, listen, that's not my ball game, but let me see what I can do. I know a few people that they may know someone kind of thing. Let's see if I can help you connect to anybody. Might not be able to, but I'm going to give it a shot. Okay. So you want to manage those. The next one, last 2, balancing coaching and business development. In other words, you're balancing the time about going and getting clients, and you're balancing the time on actually coaching the clients. Now, oftentimes I hear, it's kind of overwhelming. Usually most overwhelm, not all, most overwhelm is a product of a lack of proper planning, period. Okay? Let me give you an example. In most coaching scenarios today, the coaching relationship, there's 3 coaching sessions per month, 60 minutes or so, and you're going to have some prep time for each one of those sessions. Pretty simple. That's pretty much it. Whether you're spending an hour per session of prep time or 30 minutes, it's going to be different between the strategy and what you're going over, your skills, your experience, and whatnot. But it's usually 30 to 60 minutes of prep time for every single session that you're going to have. Well, it's not rocket science. We've got 5 clients, right? And you're going to just use math times 3 sessions per month. So I've got 15 sessions per month. You're going to have those planned out on the calendar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, and this is where the mistake gets made. Rather than, if you don't have a plan, it means I get up today and go, okay, I've got to get on the phone, or I've got to send some emails, or I need to get to that networking event or whatever. No. You want to build a plan that says part of my strategy in business development, in other words, building relationships is, and this is the part you got to answer. It could be networking. It could be workshops. It could be LinkedIn. It could be, paid marketing, whatever it's going to be. That part needs to get decided, and whatever you decide to do out of that needs to get scheduled. So if you're going to be a part doing a lot of networking and you're going to go to 2 events per week, those get scheduled. For context, if they're Tuesdays and Thursdays, I now know when I'm going to be a part of those. Maybe you're going to do workshops. There's another mistake. As an example, I'm going to try the workshop strategy route. I love being in front of 5 to 8 people, 10 people, whatever, presenting some content, building my prominence, being a connector in the community, and so on. But what coaches will make the mistake of is that they'll just schedule one, and after that one is over, at some point they'll schedule another. If you're going to do a strategy like that, you need to schedule 5 or 6, over a period of time. That way they're already scheduled. Plus, when you make the invitation, hey, in 2 weeks I'm doing a profit acceleration workshop, and I'd love to invite you. I'd love to come, but we're out of town or whatever. When you already have one planned, this is how you balance this. You can invite them to the very next one. So it actually reduces your time that you're actually having to do business development because you already have things in the hopper, right? Or maybe let's say that you are, you have a pretty diverse network and your job is just to get in front of those, right? And so part of my low-hanging fruit, it may be every day, 1 hour a day. It could be twice a week for 2 hours. Whatever the case may be, you want to schedule those things. The more things that you get scheduled, I don't care if it's a 30-minute task, the more things that hit your calendar. This is when I'm going to do this. What gets scheduled gets achieved. And this is how you balance the two. And it really isn't that overwhelming after all. Last, dealing with client resistance and setbacks. Look, life is life. People are people. Some people know a lot. Some people know a little. Look, the world right now, especially in the United States, flooded with a lot of businesses, with amazing people who own them. But they don't have a lot of business building skill for a vast variety of reasons. And so often, and I'm not making this up, things are just kind of thrown at the wall without any thought to them. Hey, we need a new website. And they go off and they just build a new website and they build it based upon what they like, which means nothing if customers and prospects don't like it or don't use it or don't need it or so on, right? And so they're just busy doing a lot of busy work. And when you come in with a strategic plan, at times is going to be resistance. I don't want to do that. I don't know if we should do it. I'm not sure if I like that. You're going to have that. That's good news. Here's why. The job of a strategist and a coach as a guide is to stretch people into a new dimension. A rubber band is only as good as it is unless it's stretched. It literally has no value when it's in its normal state. None, right? And so our job as a coach and a strategist isn't just to do the work for someone. It's to help them see things, help them understand things, help them to recognize what they're missing, help them to recognize, by continuing to repeat the same, actions is causing them to spiral and be in this emotional, overwhelmed state. So one, we want to expect resistance. And it's going to come in different shapes and sizes, depending upon the personality. Part of this goes back to the word I keep saying, but a lot of this has to do with how you set the relationship up and expectations. So it's like, hey, listen, part of my job is to push you out of your comfort zone, not to just be uncomfortable, but to learn. Now, we're not going to do it fast, but as we go through strategy by strategy, as we go through step by step in building business building principles in your business, there's going to be times when you may struggle with it. And that's a good thing because it's pushing you to where you need to get to. But here's my request. As you do that, just be open and honest. Hey man, this is hard for me. Like, I don't really understand this. Why do we have to really do this? And give me a chance. Give me a chance to respond to help you grow. Because that's my job. That's what I want to do. Okay? Setbacks as a part of that is not everything works the way we want it to. Happens all the time. And that's just a part of the job. We just got to encourage, coach, educate, be there to support and to motivate, to go do it again, tweak the things, whatever needs to be to tweak, or so on. Some of the setbacks have nothing to do with business building principles. It could be personal setbacks. It could be someone in their one of their key people have had a challenge, and it's also stretching the business as well. You got to handle them the best way you can to be a support. Sometimes you're as a strategist, we're there for moral support. We're there to encourage. We're there to educate. But you got to go into it with realistic expectations that life is life. You're going to have resistance and you're going to have setbacks. So there you go. You want to prepare yourself. Those 5 areas I just told you, those are the majority of challenges that you're ever going to come up against. Sure, there's going to be other smaller ones, but those are going to be the majority that you have. You want to build a plan. You want to set your expectations. And quite frankly, the more you get excited about these challenges, when they show up, you are ready, you are nimble, and your clients and your prospects, they sense it, they smell it, and it shows you as a leader. And what that does is that draws magnetism to you, right? If you whine, if you complain, if you cower, they also see that too, and that's a detractor, and that's going to blow a hole in success for you long term. Hope that makes sense to you. I hope that added value. Again, if you're looking to build a business coaching practice, you don't have the resources, you don't have the tools, you're not sure where to start, go to businesscoachmastery.com. We'll help you out. Okay? Until next time, take care.